Maybe just hold that to be funny, or put it around your waist. We don't have to make any sense here, really. Where'd you get that belt, Austin?
I got this from my friend, Drew McIntyre and Liv Morgan from the WWE.
Yep. We had the WWE last week where we earned this title of community champions, and that is a heavy belt. That's a serious heavyweight belt. 15 pounds.
And he'll be wearing this at the grocery store here on out. So stay tuned.
Keep my pants up.
Yeah.
Hi, you guys. I'm Andy McDermott.
And I'm Austin Carr.
And this is the first ever edition or episode of our new podcast, Intentional Sports Game Changers. If you're watching, we're on video. If you're listening, thanks so much for tuning in. You can always check out our YouTube channel to see the video, because each episode will be in a different location on the Intentional Sports campus here on the west side of Chicago. There's a 10-acre campus that we built as a nonprofit to provide high-level sports opportunities to kids who otherwise wouldn't get those chances. So today we're in the Turf Field House, which is a massive room. It is the largest turf field indoors in the city of Chicago. It's the only Major League Baseball size field in Chicago. And we have motorized curtains, we have batting cages, we have pitching machines, we have 7v7 fields, 11v11 fields. So each week we'll feature a different space. Tune in next episode to see a different place on campus. So, Game Changers podcast, guys. This is telling stories about how the game has changed our lives, or how we hope to change the game in some way. Today I asked Austin to join me in our first intro episode, because Austin's got some great stories himself as an athlete, but he's now also president here at Intentional Sports. So we are teammates in trying to lead and pull Intentional Sports to provide opportunities and activities for the communities here on the west side of Chicago. So starting with Austin, that said, AC, do you remember a time when you didn't play sports? Like how young were you? Do you even remember that?
In utero. I mean, I don't know. I came out sports family. My dad is the driver. He was the driver in sports. So one of the earliest memories I have is a picture of me with a Randy Moss jersey and a Minnesota Vikings helmet and a Minnesota Vikings football, posing for Christmas. I think it was like my 4th or 5th birthday. So my birthday is also Christmas. And it was infectious. My dad just imbued that love for football and sports into myself and my brother and my sisters, and was that 4 or 5 sport athlete all the way up through grade school, elementary school, high school, and on.
So talk about game changer, Randy Moss, man, he kind of changed. He was that first prototype kind of tall wide receiver.
Oh yeah.
So 4 or 5 sports, what were the sports that you played as a kid?
Great question. So track and field, baseball, soccer, football, and basketball. Yeah, those were my main ones. Yep. And football took the center stage by high school. Okay. But I mean, it's one of those things where all of these sports feed on one another, and you get better at one because you're getting better at another, which is really cool.
Yep, I love it. And was there a moment when you realized, hey, I might have a future in this, like I could play varsity sports, or maybe I could even play college sports? Do you remember any time when that occurred to you?
Yeah, I would say with football, because that became my main love, my main passion. That happened probably right before my sophomore year of high school, when I was training with a track coach. I was like average speed, and he brought me to be one of the fastest guys on the field.
Moments later, Wheat is under center and tosses to Austin Carr, running like a truck as he barrels over the defender and into the land of 6 points.
And in speed at a skill position in football, that speed kills. I don't know if it's like that in soccer. Maybe.
I think all sports.
All sports. Speed, change of direction. If you could get that, you could be pretty excellent. And so I played JV, scored like 25 touchdowns that year, and then got pulled up to varsity, and then there you start to realize, okay, I've got a knack for this, I know the game, and I'm comfortable on the field. And then I would say, I mean, and there's another thing. So I walked on at Northwestern, and I don't know if I'm getting ahead, but
no, that's great.
So a couple of years at Northwestern, played 4 reps in the span of 2 years.
Wow.
And you don't know. You're like, Coach Fitz was very kind to walk on, so I knew that I was stable and secure to be on the team. But that 3rd year, when I started to get real play time on offense, started to make catches, parlayed into the 4th year, which then scored some touchdowns, and then the 5th year, just crushed it. Everything went bonkers. We can get into that later, but that's when you start to realize, okay, the good Lord made me a football player.
Yeah, right. Okay, yeah, and that really changed your life because of football. I mean, you played all sports growing up, and then how would you describe sports in your upbringing? Did it impact what you did at school or your social life or off the field? Did it have an impact in what you were doing?
Great question. I was blessed to have some coaches that really emphasized academics. Hey, you guys got to get good grades, and if you didn't get good grades, passing grades, you weren't allowed to play, right? Whether it's basketball, baseball, football. Yeah. And I watched tapes of my home videos when I was young. I was extremely energetic, oftentimes disrespectful, and a hassle for my parents. Okay. Top to bottom. And I know you have a similar story. Yeah. I'll ask you about that in a minute. But I needed to get my beans out, as my parents would say, and so I'd be playing in the streets all the time, and the neighborhood kids, which was awesome. I think it brought form, it brought discipline, just youth sports. It brought a way to channel a lot of youthful energy that had I not had that organization and a coach who believes in you and the equipment that you need and all of that consistently, I could only imagine where I'd end up. I could only imagine where I'd be right now. My parents unfortunately got a divorce when I was early in middle school, and in many ways, soccer, football, baseball, that was my saving grace. Yeah. It was my safe place outside of the home when everything was unraveling, when the next day, the next week, you didn't know what was going to happen. Sure. You still had that football to throw around and that team to compete with that next week. So, and I know your story's somewhat similar, right?
Yeah, for me, similar story. It was always soccer since I was about 4 or 5. I think my mom picked that sport because it required the most running, and this was back in the late 70s, early 80s when no one played soccer, but it started to get popular back then, I think because parents wanted their kids to run around a lot. That's all it started for, and for some reason it was love at first sight, but for me that was 42, 43 years ago, and it still is the undercurrent of my life where for me it's about so much more than what happens on the field. It's off the field. I'm sure you'd say the same way. I'm still friends with some of the guys that I played soccer with as a little kid, and then we went to high school together, and still have text groups we're still a bunch of knuckleheads, making each other laugh. So, I would say to kind of button up your story, you spent those first couple of years at Northwestern. You said you played 4 or 5 downs, and then what happened? Would you say between those first couple of years to then, obviously your junior and senior year particularly being one of the best wide receivers in college football? Was there something that kind of changed the game for you, or was it a gradual hard work? What would you say was the difference?
Andy, I wish there was a clear one moment, right? I wish there was a epiphany or a come to Jesus moment, but it was gradual, almost the turning of an aircraft carrier. If you imagine how long it takes for an aircraft carrier to do a 180, I was really raw as an athlete.
He's a terrific teammate. He's an unbelievable human being, great student. It just goes to show you how sometimes recruiting's overrated. It's about people, and there's no better person than Austin Carr.
So I knew the game of football, loved to play, but wasn't recruited heavily out of California. California is just bursting with talent, and you can get lost in the wash there. I was athletic, but running routes. I came to Northwestern. I walked on. I wanted to be a safety first, and if not a safety, a running back. And to this day, I have the email from Chris Bowers, the recruiting coordinator, who was like, no, we've seen your tape. You're going to be a wide receiver. Like, guess I have no choice.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. You know, beggars can't be choosers. I'm a walk-on. I'm going to, you know, help out wherever I can. And, you know, that's God's providence, just like preparing me for just grueling 5 years of development. And so I would say my third year, going into my third year, I had figured out how to be a Big Ten wide receiver, I would say. Still needed to get faster and quicker, but I knew the playbook and I was comfortable. It was reflected. I probably had 10, 15 catches that year and contributed on special teams. Great. Going into my fourth year, I would say I had taken some steps forward. You figure out how you need to train in the off season, and I could have been a starter. There were some guys ahead of me, but still scored a couple touchdowns that year, you know, 30 some odd receptions, still contributing on special teams, starting some games. Okay, we've got momentum. I'm comfortable. My fifth year, you just kind of compile. So you're just stacking layers after layers. And Coach Fitz would have a saying like, just get one rep better. This practice, just get one rep better. And I think I took that to heart. And when you stack enough of those together and you actually get one rep better, by the time you finish your time anywhere, you could be on the, you know, football field, you could be in the office, whatever it might be. For me, it was like, you know, I've invested in this program and they're investing back in me.
Larson on the throw, wide open, Austin Carr on his way, touchdown Wildcats.
I will also say I was blessed not to have a major injury outside of severing the tendon in my right pinky. That's a whole nother story. We could do a bloopers take about my freshman year getting that injury off the field. But my fifth year, I had stacked enough of those practices. I think I had developed enough as an athlete to really see that play out in you know, Big Ten Receiver of the Year kind of season. Broke some records for Northwestern. Led the Big Ten in receptions, touchdowns, and yardage, which is somewhat uncommon, and was a finalist for the Biletnikoff Award. So you kind of just stack all this stuff suddenly, and you expect to get drafted after that, right? You do the whole awards circuit, and we won our bowl game, great. And I end up not getting drafted. And that was crushing for me. It's every football player's dream to get your name called on that April day, whenever it is. And for whatever reason, it was, you know, okay, gonna have to find a way to do it through the free agent market. And it's kind of cool. You get to then choose your team. The New York Giants had called, and hey, you know, you get these calls around 5th, 6th round, like, hey, we don't have the draft capital for you, but we really like your tape. We want you to come. And you're just like, you could draft me in the next round. Come on.
That's the vocabulary they use. We don't have the draft capital.
Exactly.
Thank you very little.
Yeah, exactly. But and I don't want to go too long here, but my agent was really high on the Patriots. My agent also had Tom Brady and Julian Edelman and Jimmy Garoppolo, three of the stars on the team there. So it made sense for me, and he thought that I fit their system. And so Josh McDaniels, the OC, Chad O'Shea, the wide receiver coach at the time, called me up around the 5th round. And you're thinking it's I'm gonna get my name called, but it's like, hey, we would love to have you as a free agent. And so all that aftermath, it's a mood swings. I was in Santa Monica, where I was born with my family, you know, hoping to celebrate, but end up choosing the Patriots.
I love the analogy you gave about the aircraft carrier turning. It's such a long-term investment, that success. You know, I say it to little soccer players all the time that Leo Messi didn't become the best player in the world all of a sudden as an 11-year-old. You know, he's done thousands of soccer practices where each practice he gets this much better. And now all of a sudden he's stacked enough of those improvements together that he's there. Because every time he comes to play, he gets just a little bit better. And so you stacked enough of those one rep better days to get your shot in the NFL, which is, I don't know what those odds are, 1 in a million football players, you know, get that chance. So you get to New England Patriots and talk about a game changer. You know, you had gone from varsity football to being the small fish in a big pond at a Division I Big Ten school, and then all of a sudden you're a big fish in the Big Ten in college football, and then now you're a small fish trying to make the NFL. So what was that jump like?
Ooh, that jump was a whirlwind. It was scary, I'll be honest. You never want to show that on your face or to the coaches, but I think if you're honest, you're kind of terrified as a rookie coming in. I'll never forget one of my first practices in the off season. It was during OTAs, organized team activities, and I'm watching Tom Brady I'm seeing him in person for the very first time in my whole life.
Yeah.
Side note, I grew up a Patriots fan. Don't hate me for that.
Wow. From the West Coast?
From the West Coast.
Okay.
So Tom is from Northern California.
Okay.
And I was raised to have an AFC and NFC team, so Patriots Vikings. Anyway, there's like my 10-year-old birthday, I have a Tom Brady jersey on.
Wow.
Almost the same picture with a football, right? Here's my childhood idol doing drills with Garoppolo and Edelman, and he walks up to us, as a small group of rookie offensive players, and he goes line by line like, "Hi, I'm Tom," and he's going down the line. I'm just watching him come to me, and my diaper was wet, and by the time I shook his hand, I was like, "Hi, I'm Austin. Nice to meet you." Like, "I'm Tom. Good to meet you." Right? It's just like one of those moments.
Did you say, I'm sorry, what's your name?
Yeah, I know, exactly. Tim? So
Nice to meet you, Tom.
I had a great preseason. I started slow, I'll be honest. I did not show a ton of great stuff until a couple months in. But once that point hit, I mean, it was preseason, so this doesn't mean a ton, but I led the NFL in receptions and touchdowns, 2017 preseason. And so you got to go, okay, I'm on the team. I'm the guy. Julian Edelman tears his ACL in preseason 3.
Wow.
It's going to be me and Amendola and Chris Hogan and Malcolm Mitchell. You're kind of arranging it in your mind, and Bill Belichick had other plans. And
Bill.
Yeah, Bill. What do you know about talent, man? No, I'm just kidding.
What did he ever win?
Yeah, right. Only 6 Super Bowls. So I get cut, and I didn't see it coming. The night before, my new wife, we had actually gotten married a month or 2 earlier. We're touring apartments, and you're never supposed to put a deposit down on an apartment until you're on the team. And my wife was just like, "No, don't. Let's just wait until tomorrow after." And I'm like, "No, by faith, let's do it. I'm gonna make it right." So luckily, her argument, she persuaded me, as often she does, and we ended up not putting a deposit in, and I get cut, and for 24 hours you have no clue what's going to happen. There's this whole process where all the 31 other teams can claim you as on their roster, and you don't know, and if they don't, then you're a free agent. You go home, my wife and I, maybe we'll go back to Chicago, pick up the pieces, figure out what our next career step will be. And midday the next day, the New Orleans Saints had called and claimed me on their roster. So that was a huge relief, because for 24 hours you're wondering, am I going to become a financial analyst?
Basically unemployed, right?
Yeah, you're unemployed. And your dream is suspended, right? And so that just kickstarted an incredible time of 4 years playing on the New Orleans Saints.
Quick throw pass is caught in the end zone for the touchdown, Austin Carr.
With Drew Brees, so I got to be a wide receiver for Drew Brees' last 4 years. Caught his last regular season touchdown, January of 2020. Yeah, it was a huge blessing.
Did you keep that ball, or did he?
I gave it back to the ref. I mean,
stupid ref.
Yeah, I know. Well, and you don't know. It's one of those things.
Right.
We didn't know if he was going to retire for sure. I don't think he knew going for a Super Bowl, but I played for 4 years. I tear everything in my ankle, so it was my 3rd year. I tried to play through it my 4th year and saw field play time, but at the end of the day, it was something that needed to happen. I needed to turn the page to the next season of life, because my ankle was in too much pain, and honestly, if you're a boxer with one arm tied behind your back, it's just not fun. It's not fun. So had that 4-year stint in New Orleans. Love the city. Don't know if you've been down there before. You have, right?
I have been.
Oh my goodness. Jambalaya.
I went as a husband and a dad of 4 kids on a road trip, so it wasn't the typical New Orleans experience, but we had some good food. We enjoyed ourselves. And we were of sound mind while we were there, so I remember it well.
That's awesome.
As opposed to most people who visit New Orleans, maybe don't remember it.
It's the French Quarter will get you.
Right.
I have a whole list of anyone watching or listening. If you want my list of places to visit in New Orleans, I'll let you know. Point out the tourist traps.
We should put that in the comments section on YouTube or something.
But loved the time there, and then that ultimately our move up to Chicago,
Yep.
you played a big part in.
Well, yeah. So that talk about the game changing your life. Now you have a chance, and this is a good segue, to use the game to change other people's lives. So, what was it about Intentional Sports that made you, finally say, okay, I want to join this crazy guy that I don't know all that well because of this mission? Like, what can you identify what it was that made you want to come here and take this on?
I think we need to rewind, Andy, to our first meeting, which I have a photo of. I was training for my 5th year, thinking that I was maybe I stick around in it. A couple months later, I retired. My ankle was bothering me too much. But for those that don't know, Andy comes and visits Tommy Christian. He's leader of TC Boost. He's training me in the off season.
Speed and strength coach.
Had trained me for the combine, and then every year that I was in the NFL. And he mentions to me while I'm warming up in his gym, hey, this friend of mine from Northwestern's coming up to visit. I'm like, who's this guy? He's a really interesting guy. He played pro soccer. He's an actor and a model, and he's also doing this really cool thing in the city with a nonprofit. I think it would be cool to check out. And I'm like, sounds like a joke, not a joke, but just like, that sounds like too good to be true. Like, he's doing all that stuff, right?
It's kind of a joke, I guess.
No, it was like the most interesting man in the world. And so you come and visit, and we talk, and we actually took a photo. I don't know if you remember, but it was April. And it hadn't stuck with me a ton, hearing the vision and what you were doing in the city. It sounded like, oh, that's cool, planting a multi-sport facility on the west side and getting kids playing sports and providing baseball and soccer and basketball. That sounds great. I'm in the NFL, right? I studied philosophy and business.
I got a job.
Right. And I wasn't in facility management or nonprofit necessarily undergrad. A couple of months later, you retire. You take a step back and you realize, and this is something a lot of people will say, some people will say, the measure of success is by the amount of lives you impact for good. And for me, a man of faith, for good and for God, right? And I would say, just locating myself, okay, 4 years in the NFL, this incredible experience that, it's a one in a million kind of dream. And you've got this platform that can help fundraise and that can help maybe lead and that can also form me, right? I being your first hire, being somebody that you wanted to entrust to lead a business and to help form just what is this Intentional Sports? We know big picture, but like, what is the day to day? What is the week to week and month to month? And so to be entrusted by you and to be brought into that, it was kind of a no-brainer. I was considering another role that was kind of more of an office fundraising job in another nonprofit that I really respected. But the more I talked with you and the more that I just looked at my life and looked at what you were doing and the partners that were joining here, it became obvious, like this is a whole culture that's getting created on the West Side that if we do it right, and I think you had cast a vision for this early on, if we do this right, this could be replicated on another site in the city and then maybe beyond Chicago and be something that's a huge movement. And for me, that was exciting. It was daunting. It was also underwhelming to just come to the site and see a bunch of dirt.
It was just dirt.
Just cranes and dirt, and sitting in on those meetings and believing that vision was really what moved me to say, all right, Intentional Sports needs to be the next step.
Yeah. I love it, and that's kind of the multiple meaning behind the Game Changers podcast is obviously a game of football gave Austin a lot of opportunities in life, and he had to work really hard. He was a good steward of the gifts he's been given and worked really, really hard to have the success on the field that he had. A huge reason behind the mission of Intentional Sports is to give all kids that same opportunity to play. When I came here in 2020 and did the first soccer clinic that I did with 40 kids, we had to do in the loading dock of the Grace and Peace Community Center next door. We just had our groundbreaking ceremony. So today we're celebrating with the Loading Dock Legends game. You'll see the loading dock, we created that as a space to play while the rest of this 10 acres is under construction. So let's check it out. there was 40 kids out there, and most of them had never played an organized sport before at all. And these were 6 through 12-year-olds. And I was just shocked that I've been all over the world because of a soccer ball and done soccer clinics in some of the poorest countries and in the housing projects where I worked in Phoenix. I couldn't believe that in one of the most populated and most advanced cities on earth, there are kids who don't have the chance to play organized sports when it's been something that's so integral to my life, your life. I would say to most people's lives, maybe not sports, but activities, right? Whether it's music or dance or arts or wellness or whatever it is, a lot of kids learn a good life lesson or a lot of good life lessons from their activities that they do after school. So that's part of our mission here. Was we built this place to be professional level and world class, so that NFL guys or Jason Hayward and his buddies could come here and train during the day. Or yesterday was really cool talking to some of the Chicago Red Stars, professional women's soccer players who are training here during the day. We wanted to be world class enough so pro athletes, college athletes would want to be here, but really for the kids, so that when they come here every day after school and do our free or low cost programs, they feel like Justin Fields or Candace Parker or Austin Carr, and they feel that, hey, they're important. They're having the same opportunities as kids in Lake Forest or Scottsdale or Palm Beach. And we had to build this and bring it here so that we bring those programs here. So you guys, thank you so much for joining us in this first episode. Please continue to tune in, subscribe here, wherever you get your podcasts, to our YouTube channel. Find us on social media, and send us some questions or comments or requests on who you'd like us to talk to. We have a whole I would say Rolodex of great friends and supporters who have been part of this intentional sports story already, that I can't wait to introduce you to and hear their game-changing stories. So again, thank you to Austin Carr for joining us, and thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.